Good afternoon, fellow Plexers. Today we're going to help Charlie again from the Plex Media Server Support Group. He's having trouble getting going with Filebot, and he's purchased the license, so we're going to try to do a beginner's Filebot tutorial for him. So, I normally use elementary OS. I've recently installed an immutable install of Fedora with a budgie Windows Manager. Or the budgie desktop. So this is where I am. I'm in the store for Fedora, and I wanted to show you. I did not install Filebot from the store because it's only a Flatpak option, which means it's sandboxed. But I did install Media Info from the default store. If I click into it, you'll see there's an option for either a Flathub or directly from Fedora's repositories. That's what I wanted. So I installed Filebot manually on this Linux distro instead of grabbing it from the Flathub store, Flatpak. And the reason being is neither of these apps, Media Info or Filebot, can be sandboxed. I love Flatpak apps, but these two apps need to talk to each other. So, I am browsed into my Synology NAS right now, looking at a TV show that I've had for a while and that was not originally named by my latest Filebot expression. And this is an example of a show that's not really a show. Adam Curtis is similar to Ken Burns in Britain. He's a great documentarian, and he's done different documentaries, and just like the Ken Burns PBS documentaries have been organized into a fake TV show, so has Adam Curtis's documentaries. You won't find this in the movie database, but it's an example of a few shows that are listed by the year instead of a sequential order, season 1984 through 2011. So this is my example I'm going to use today. So I'm going to right click on the whole series and open with Filebot. Now if these were local files, you could just drag them in from your file manager, or you could load here, but because they're on the NAS and I'm running Linux, I can do magical things that might not happen under a Mac or a Windows OS. And you kind of know I'm just being silly, right? Like, use whatever OS you want to use. So all I've done here so far is rename something on the side in order to paste my license in. So I never use this default feature. I always load my own custom expressions. So there's a little bug with Filebot that we have to speak about, at least my use of it. If I click match, I'd want to stay under the episode mode heading, and I could just pick the movie database if I wanted to. And it's not finding this unique one. Let me just get rid of Adam Curtis Films and just do Adam Curtis. It's not going to work because this particular fake TV show is not in the database at TMDB. Let's open it with Filebot again. So if I click the TVDB, I know this is listed there. Alright, so what's happening is it's not using the Plex binding correctly. So it knows the name of the series is Adam Curtis Films, and it knows the season coding should be 1984, but it's doing X01 instead of E01. Well, if I right click here and go down to edit format, I'll get to this screen. This should be the default binding. If I put that in, it should work if I added that separately as its own expression. But I think all I have to do is click this. But before I do, you'll notice this drive /media /Plex ID. This is Plex's default expression that you can use from a different menu option. So I am just going to click this, use that format, and you see how it changes. And I believe if I now open things up again, choose match, choose TV database, now it's going to stick for using it in the future. So it's a really simple fix when you first start using Filebot, and these are perfectly acceptable file names. It's great. It's not creating structure, but it works fine. If you want to use Plex's default expression, I'm losing words here, you can use organize episodes for Plex on most things, but not this one series, because this is going to use information from the movie database, and again, this fake TV show is not listed there. But if you're going to rename episodes or movies, you could just use that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in my custom expressions, which I pasted here to make it easier. Let's see, the dark mode is on by default. Let me get rid of that for this window. Okay, so these two expressions are different. This one creates structure, this one just renames. And it really doesn't do it by Airdate versus DVD just because of the expression. That's a switch you have to throw. So I'm simply going to copy this, and then this little icon here, piece of paper with a little gear on it, I'm going to click Edit Preset, New Preset. Let me see, I copied the wrong thing first. I'm going to do TV series rename only by Airdate. Paste that in here. Click OK. Then I'll go back and copy all this, paste it in there, and then we're going to use Airdate. Everything else can be left alone. If I was going to, I'm sorry, this can't be left alone. This has to be changed to the TVDB, and that's where Filebot will look for information for naming. So if I click Save Preset, now it's down here, TV series rename only by Airdate. So let me do edit again, new preset, and now I'm going to highlight just part of this. Type DVD in here, and I'm going to use the same code again. So I'll change this to the TV database, the data source, and change the episode order to DVD, and then save. So now I have each of these. Well, now I want to be able to create structure too. So back to the little thing, edit, new preset, click OK. Now I need this longer expression. Paste that in, change the data source to the TVDB, leave Airdate alone, save preset. Now I have 3, so we'll do it one more time. New preset, this time it's by DVD, click OK, grab this expression for the second and final time, paste it in. Data source should be TVDB, episode order should be DVD, save. So now I have my 4 choices, but you'll notice those default choices disappeared. If I hold down the Shift key and then click in, I'll see Plexes. But I don't often use Plexes, I use my own. So let's talk about this for a second. Entries at the TVDB don't include the year by default for the proper show name like an entry at the movie database does. my expression adds that back in. But occasionally there'll be an entry that already has the year listed as part of the proper show name, and a default expression naming from TVDB will end up adding the year twice, which is what all this junk is here. It prevents that from happening. So this structure creates the show name, adds the year, creates the season properly, and again it handles the year thing twice for the episode name, then it adds the season coding, and the T tells it to add the proper episode name, and then I have in brackets a VF, a VC, an AF, and an AC, all in curly Q brackets, ending with the regular bracket, and that pulls from media info characteristics about the file. Then I have this other long code here. This is something that the developer of Filebot helped me out with in their forums, because I want to do one of two things. If the media file has English subtitles embedded, I want to add this to the file name also, just ENGSUB in brackets. If there's foreign or unlabeled subtitles inside the container file and not English ones, I want it to say instead UNDSUB. And it could be anything you want. We could make that UNK for unknown sub, or UND is undescribed sub. And then if I have external subtitles that I'm including in the renaming process, this curly Q SUBT and curly Q helps rename those. So this is a pretty complex expression for renaming, but it does a nice job. So now that we have those added, I am going to do two passes. I'm going to rename only by Airdate, and you'll see that everything is just as it should be. It's added the proper year in, which my original file name doesn't have. It's got the season and episode coding correct, and it's got the proper name for the episode, and then it's got this extra information here that tells a little bit about the file. It's a 40p file. It's encoded with the XVID. It's 2-channel, and the sound is MP3. Now if I just hit rename, let's see if we can change this to the view. So this isn't my default OS, so I don't know how to turn off the dark mode on this. Well, we'll just leave it as it is. So if I click rename, the next screen is the validation screen. Any illegal character is going to be highlighted in red. And if I click validate, it removes them. Now the default binding for Plex, if the official show name or movie name had a colon in it, the default binding replaces that colon with a dash. I don't like that. I just take it out. So my expression is a little bit different that way. So let me just hit continue. 20 files renamed. If I go back into Adam Curtis, into a season, you'll see that this now has the year. But I haven't added the year to the folder yet. So if I go back in and choose my expression that creates structure by Airdate, now you'll see the path to where the file resides on my Synology NAS. If we slide over, you'll see this. And my expression will, at least for me on my Synology NAS, rename in place. So let's go ahead and rename in place, validate, hit continue. And now if I refresh this view on my NAS, you'll see that the folder name for the show now has the 1983, and of course these have been renamed again. And that's basically Filebot with a TV show. And the only thing different is if this show actually had, so I can't drag this in. Well, I guess I can. I can't do it under Elementary OS. The only thing, if you were ripping your own DVDs and there was a DVD order, you'd want to find that out at TMDB first. And let's just show that too. Okay, let's type something old. Oh darn, my ad blocker is giving me trouble. Let me sign in. Okay. Well, why did this not stay signed in? Let's do something simple. Let's just pick an old TV show. Oh, this is driving me nuts. Let's do it another way. Let's use an incognito window. Okay, so All in the Family is going to be our example. So when I click into seasons, we have the DVD order here. Sometimes the DVD order has different amount of episodes per season. So let's just go 11, 13, 24, and 24. So there's no specials. So it looks like the number of episodes is the same. And let's just look. Meeting the Bunkers, Writing the President, and Oh My Arching Back. So it looks like this is identical. It may have some differences. But say there was a DVD order that was different, and it was for this show. I would just choose my preset for the DVD order. And of course there is no DVD order, so this is all going to be the same. So that's Filebot with TV shows, and let's also do movies. So let me get rid of this. None of my videos are scripted, so bear with me. It simply is what it is. Okay, here we go. So, a couple different options. I can use Filebot to rename from the movie database, which is what I do, or I can use it to rename from IMDb, which I occasionally do. You've got to come across a lot of media to realize that every once in a rare blue moon that there's an entry at IMDb for a movie that's not listed at TMDB. So if I fail to match a movie that should easily be matched, I will switch to IMDb structure or renaming, and chances are you'll find it. And if it's not listed at either, you're in trouble. So let's add this to Filebot. Add a bunch to Filebot. Alright, so let's do the IMDb rename only. So we'll edit the preset, new preset, add this, pop this in. We're going to change this to the movie database, and trust me, this is going to work for IMDb. And then we'll leave everything else alone. So let's stop here. I've got a movie that I transferred from my NAS. Now the folder's already kind of special, so let's get rid of the source ID. We'll pop in for a second. So I've got a movie and a subtitle. What I don't know is whether this is a hearing impaired or a regular subtitle. So if I look through, I can see that it's a hearing impaired subtitle. It's got the extra info. So I can fix that here, rename, and I'm just going to add a .sdh. And that's all the prep Filebot needs for an external subtitle. Alright, so let's open this up with Filebot. So we have our two files, and I'm going to click this, and I'm going to click IMDB rename only. And you'll see it added the IMDB source ID, it added the extra media characteristics, and this is one little rub I'm kind of stepping out of bounds with Plex's movie naming guide. In their series naming guide, they specifically say to put extra information you don't want Plex's series scanner to look at into brackets. This is not a rule for a Plex movie library. Normally you just have it separated by a space dash space, but seeing the space dash space is already here, I'm using that convention. I've decided to make the look of my files uniform by also encompassing this extra information in brackets, with the expectation that Plex will eventually make that a rule for a movie library too. So if I just click rename, refresh, go back in, and here's a source ID added to the file name. So let's get the rest of our expression. There's Charlie answering something now, and we'll finish his video up. So let's add our extra expressions to Filebot for the rest of the movie options, and we can get on with things. Okay, so now I'm going to do the structure for IMDb. Edit preset, new preset, copy my name in, copy and paste the expression, change this to the movie database, save the preset. Now we'll do two more for the movie database. And you don't have to use my descriptions. I flubbed the keyboard, so let me just start fresh with this one. Change this to the movie database, save it, and our final expression. Edit
Motion
new,
detected.
copy and paste the expression, change this to the movie database, save preset. So now I'm going to check all those to see if it worked fine. So I use the same movie, open with Filebot. Alright, let's check the structure. All right, so it's keeping the IMDb source ID, and it's simply going to structure this in place by putting it in the download folders. And let me do rename only with a TMDB. Okay, so now the source ID has changed to the TMDB database number. Everything else is the same. And lastly, we will do the TMDB structure. All right, so I want to show you one more trick of Filebot. Let me change this. No, not that, sorry. Let me change the file name. Let me make both of these simpler again. And then let me do this. Let me do unrated, as if there'd be an unrated kids show or movie. So now let me open with Filebot, and I'll use my default expression to create structure. And you'll see now that just having the keyword in there added the addition information. In the curly Q brackets, addition dash unrated. And if I click rename, so my expression adds the TMDB ID number to both the folder and the file name. And of course I tricked it into thinking this is an unrated edition of a Goofy movie. Now I'm not going to show subtitles. I have a perfectly good subtitle video for Filebot, but if you simply click subtitles and click the little green contact, you can put in your username and password for open subtitles, and you can register for free, and a free registration gives you 200 API hits a day. Subtitles aren't perfect in Filebot. Somehow, I don't know how it works, it tries to find the best match at open subtitles for the file you have. But there's no choice of getting a default English subtitle or a hearing impaired one or a forced one. Most likely you're going to get a default one. And of course you have to set your language to English. And to turn that on, let's show you how you turn that on. Have to get back in the rename field. So let's set this up to be renamed only. And down here, this little tool icon, if you go down to post process, you can check fetch subtitle file if you've made that connection. You can also bring in cover images if you want them. That's nothing I want. And Plex doesn't work with NFO files. So I'm going to fetch artwork and cover images and just rename this. And you'll see up here 6 files added. That does nothing for me, but maybe it works for you. And if we look at the poster, there's a poster for the movie. And there's, well, that's the same image, backdrop for the background. So Filebot is a great program, and I think you'll be happy with it. And I'll end up putting all of these expressions in the description of this video. And I'm not sure how long we've gotten, but this is a Filebot from the very beginning with my updated expressions. So thanks for watching, and I'll get this on YouTube.